Section 1 of The Medici, Volume 2. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Avai in May 2020. The Medici, Volume 2, by G. F. Young. Chapter 19, Catherine de' Medici, Part 1. Born 1519. Married 1533, died 1589. 1. The first 40 years of her life. Modern history has requirements of which former generations seldom dreamt. In former days, the method which as a rule commended itself to both writer and reader was one by which characters in history were labeled as bad or good, and little attempt made at any further discrimination. The fact was lost sight of that, since real characters are more complex than this, such a method produces figures unlike any men or women who ever lived, and so gives us distorted views of history. Again, while much more information is available now than formerly, it is also coming to be seen that actions belonging to a bygone age must be judged upon a different principle to that hitherto en vogue. Thus, a writer of our time has pointed out that, while with a former generation it was natural to lavish indiscriminate condemnation upon all characters in history who took a different course to that which would now be taken by anyone, modern conceptions of the proper attitude of mind in one who deals with history require him to strive to enter impartially to the feelings of all his characters. In order to avoid that tendency to create impossible figures which is so severely condemned by the modern view of the matter, and arrive at that more discriminate estimate of historical characters now deemed imperative, probably no requirement is more essential than that we should put ourselves mentally into the atmosphere of the time, and carefully guard against judging such characters by the standards of our own age, in which persons live and act under totally different conditions, instead of in relation to the opinions and conditions of their day. Looked at in the latter way, those who were in advance of the moral standard of their time, and those who were behind it, will both be correctly judged, but neither of them will be so if the standard employed is that of our own age. The foregoing considerations are more important in the case of Catherine de' Medici than perhaps of any other figure in history, for we have in her case an exceptional combination of incentives to the production of a fictitious character. In the first place, the marriage arranged for her by Clement VII in his scheme for outwitting Charles V produced a rooted prejudice against her from the very first in the minds of the French, who felt that in her person the honor of the nation had received a grievous insult, it being a galling wound to French amour-propre that the son of their king should marry one of bourgeois extraction. This feeling steadily increased among the French people, whose favorite name for her was the Italian woman, growing from prejudice into hatred, and causing the contemporary French writers to credit her with numberless crimes, so that in fact, says a modern French writer, it would seem from them that scarcely any crime could be committed in any part of France without its being attributed in some way to Catherine de' Medici. The result has been to make any reliable account of her actions practically unobtainable from them. But this is not all. The intense prejudice caused by this wound to national pride would alone have sufficed to furnish us with a record from the contemporary French writers, calculated to produce a very false picture of the person concerned. But to this were subsequently added two other influences tending in the same direction, that is, the effects of a bitter religious conflict calling forth animosities which knew no bounds in attributing every crime and evil motive to religious opponents, and the delight in tales of crime felt to an unusual degree by the people of that age. Seldom have three such powerful inducements for the production of a fictitious character be combined in
Sample complete. Ready to continue?